GM guys. I'm not the GM of my household, but that's okay. You find wherever you get instructions. All right, guys. Thank you for taking the time for joining. We're going to start with some opening statements from both Tanisha and Dan, and then we'll get to questions on the floor and then move to Zoom. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it. Over the course of the season, we had a lot of positive things happen to us. But for me and in my role, I always try to look at things big picture wise. And I think for us, our goal coming into this season was to make the postseason. And we were fortunate enough to do so. And what we wanted to have happen through that was our players go through an experience that makes them hungry for more, and makes them go through something with each other that they want to get back next year and get even further. And I think over the past 4 days or so, what T and I heard from our group led by Ryan was how great of a time they had going through that together and how excited they are to come back and do it again. So for us, in our roles, that's exciting to hear. And I think for me personally and for us, I'm as energized and as excited as I've ever been for this team and for what's to come. So already looking forward to next year, but also really reflective and happy with what we accomplished this year.
Yeah, the same. I think we came into this year with certain types of goals for ourselves. And I thought we did a great job of accomplishing some of those big goals as well as some of the smaller goals that we really wanted to look at. Really extremely proud to have been able to coach this team and who they were and how they showed up on a daily basis for us. No season is without ups and without downs. So we had our share, but the fight, the camaraderie that this team showed, the staying together, it made me proud to be able to say that I was able to coach this Atlanta Dream team. Also able to produce 3 All-Stars this year was amazing. Seeing both Cheyenne as well as Alicia be able to accomplish some lifelong goals that they've had throughout their careers was really special, and just the way that the others rallied around them during that time. Nothing happens with us without the play of Ryan Howard and how she shows up every day. And this season was a growth for her, I think, and her stature within this league. So really proud of this team and the product that we were able to put out on the court day in, day out.
Yeah, Dan, I wanted to ask first and foremost, I know before the season, you said that this year was going to be harder than year one for you guys. Did you kind of feel that this year, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I think we all felt it just because everybody's competitive. And at the end of the day, you can only win so many games, right? And we won a bunch this year, but we also, had some losses. And I think that the growth that our team made this year through those tough games is going to pay dividends for us moving forward. But at the time, it was a challenge to go through, but I think they're all happy they experienced it.
Most definitely. And then Tanisha, as a follow-up, I want to ask you too, from the coaching perspective with that, because I know obviously Dan's talking about long-term, and I know you're bought in with that as well, but so much of what you're doing is focused on what we're doing right now today.
Right.
So how does that, kind of balancing, knowing what's going on right now, but also remembering that this is for the future?
During the season, it's always tough, right?
Yeah.
Because during the season, you're laser focused. There's a tunnel vision that you have about day to day, right? The next game, right? That's what your focus is on. But Dan and I do a lot of talking throughout the season, in the off season. So bigger picture is always, back there somewhere. And, at times I have to be reminded of that bigger picture, especially when we're in it on the day to day, but it's never lost. You know what I mean? It's never lost with what we're trying to build here and what we are building here and what we're in the midst of doing. So again, we made some steps and some strides this year that is going to be beneficial for who we're going to be in the next 3-4 years. And so for that, I'm super grateful. I can sit back now that the season is over and reflect on that and say that, you know what I mean, it's going to make us better. Like the things that happened this year will make us better.
Hey Dan, this question's for you. You and I talked earlier in the season. Something you mentioned to me was, hey, we're always looking to kind of improve the roster. I know it's a little early, but
Yeah.
wanted to ask, like, any initial thoughts after the season was over about, like, hey, some areas we might be able to look at to help this roster out.
Yeah, I think like first and foremost, you're always looking to get better, just like you said. And there's a few avenues towards that, right? There's internal growth, which is always going to be important for us. And then there's the trade market, the free agency market, and the draft. And I think the last 2 years we've been probably as aggressive as any team in the league, and we're going to continue to be aggressive because we've got a group that wants to continue to win. And what part of my job is to put us in the best possible place to do that. So we're excited about just continuing to be aggressive.
Coach, this question's for you as well. I think this was probably just, maybe a week and a half ago, you said something that I thought was really important is that, you were so proud of this team. And I think that was one of the things that I could see you definitely hit you in the chest a little bit to see this growth. But I wanted to ask you, now that the season is over and done with, what did you come back with when you were sitting down and it was all quiet about your growth as a coach?
Yeah, there's always 20/20 in hindsight, right? When I look at it, it's like, dang, I could have done this and I could have done that. But the fighting through and the staying consistent, I think throughout is really important to me. I pride myself on showing up every single day and being the same person, no matter the wins, the losses, whatever that looks like. So I think that's a part of it that I was really proud that I could be consistent in that way. I still have so much room to grow as well. You know what I mean? As a coach, XO wise, like temperament wise, just all these different things. And so I know I'm going to continue to grow. And continue to get there, but I'm proud of the trajectory of where I am now, where I was last year, where I am now, and where I'll be the next year, the next year, the next year. So it's just a progression and being able to give myself grace, you know what I mean, our staff grace, and how we grow, I think is really important.
Tanisha, now with the benefit of hindsight, like you were saying, looking back on the season, where do you think those biggest areas of growth and improvement were that allowed you all to reach those big and small goals?
Yeah, I think just the maturity of this team. I think we had some growth in people. Like I know I said in one press conference that the team needed to grow up. And quite frankly, I still stand by that. You know what I mean? There's just steps that you have to take, even when you're younger, you know what I mean, to continue to raise your level and to get to where you need to get to. And I think at times this team, we had growth in individuals, right? In terms of stepping out of their comfort zones into different roles that they had never been pushed into or been in. And they took on the challenge of doing that. We have growth as a team, as a collective. And so just those areas I think was really important in terms of the maturation of individuals and us as a group.
Any more questions on the deck?
Another one I want to ask you, Dan. I know a lot of what you guys did in year one was building up infrastructurally. Is there anything that you guys are maybe looking at to do with that further in this offseason?
Yeah, I think from a environment perspective, right? You never want to get stale. So I think one thing that T and I have always been mindful of is let's take a look at the environment we're providing for our players, both from a resources perspective, from a staffing perspective, and make sure we always are doing everything we can so that when they get on the floor, they're the best version of themselves. So I think we'll take another look at that this offseason and make sure we have the best possible environment for our players to compete.
We'll go to Zoom. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Hey, great season. I'll start with you, Coach. How important is it to you as a coach to learn how to not only coach the X's and O's, but coach the players themselves, especially when you got young players like Haley and LA who are growing in the game and probably been playing multiple minutes their whole career, but they haven't learned the WNBA system?
Yeah, the landscape of sports is just forever changing. Like it's always evolving, it's always changing, and you have to change with that. You know what I mean? Things that coaches could do 10 years ago compared to now is just completely different. The type of players that we had 10 years ago that we have now is different. So I think as as our league grows and as I continue to grow, it's going to be really important that I learn how to adapt to the type of players that we have. It doesn't mean that our expectations or that our standards change, but it does mean learning who people are as individuals and what makes them go, what ticks, what doesn't tick, and how to get the most out of them. And I think that changes for every person. No one person is the same. No one person receives things the same. So learning how each and every individual receives things and coaching them where they are, I think is really important.
And for you, Dan, the first 2 years you talked about it, getting the picks that you wanted with Ryan, Nas, LA, and Haley. How important is to not only get players that fit the team, but also fit the culture as well to make sure they can blend in and be well with the team?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think one thing that we were all the most proud of this year is in a growing year where there's a lot of tough wins and a lot of tough losses, our whole group stayed together. And I think that's a reflection on the people that each of our players are. So absolutely, as we continue to bring talent into this environment, focusing on the person so that we can continue to be that type of environment that people want to come to, people want to stay at, and people really enjoy going to work every day, I think is going to be crucial for our success. Because I think that's one of our high points of our franchise. People enjoy being here. People enjoy each other. They have fun every day, and not every team, not every locker room has that. So that's going to be a big thing for us continuing moving forward.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jamila.
Good afternoon, guys. This question is actually for the both of you. You both kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are like 2 to 3 highlights that you can bring, whether it be on a personal level or on a team level from this past season?
Yeah, I think obviously having 3 All-Stars, that was a highlight for us. Haley being named to rookie all rookie team was definitely a highlight, especially because of the type of season that she had, in terms of it being a little bit up and down, but really just stayed solid throughout. Understood that it was a process. That was a highlight, I think. And during the stretch, for us when it was a tough stretch, to Dan's point, this team did an amazing job of staying together. It doesn't mean that there wasn't frustrations or different things like that, but this team never folded. They never turned against one another. And again, it's a testament to the type of players and the type of people that we have around that they also understand the big picture too. You know what I mean? Yes, these are games day to day, but who we are as people matter, and how we show up every day matters. So those are some highlights, I think, for me. It was really cool. I think another one was having opportunities throughout the year to see LA get on the floor was really cool because of the situation for her and this being a growth year for her. But the support that she received from the team when she did have her opportunities and the maturity that she showed in terms of being a pro. LA was somebody who was always ready when she was given the opportunity. So it was really cool to see her sprinkled in and at times and be ready and be a pro in that situation. So those are some highlights that I thought that was really special for us throughout the season and obviously made the playoffs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can give mine. So my first is the same that Ryan's was, because I asked her that same question. That was getting Alicia Gray into this fold. I thought having her added into this team and her getting a year playing with Ryan and the rest of our group was very much a huge win for us. I thought seeing Cheyenne's reaction when she made the All-Star team was really special for all of our players to be a part of and see that. It was a really cool moment for someone who's been in the league since 2015. And then lastly, I think Ryan's growth. I think we saw at moments we needed Ryan to be other than just a scorer. And I think Ryan stepped up and showed she can be a facilitator, she can be a defender, she can go grab a board, and that complete part of her game, seeing that was special.
Thank you. And also I had another question. What does the off season look like for both of you guys? I know it's not really off for you. I know you'll be working, but what does it typically look like? We know what the players are doing, but what do you guys do?
Sleep, looks like a little bit of sleep.
He's going to bed.
Naps during the day, off season are always different too. It just depends on what's going on. I think obviously we're gonna be hitting the road. We'll take a break, but we'll hit the road. There's tons of college kids that are coming out, you know what I mean? Wherever our positioning is, that means we have to go see a ton of kids and see what can fit with us. So I think scouting is definitely a part of that. I think making sure that we're keeping in touch and having touch points with the players that are here, focusing on that, and then development. You know what I mean? We have players that will be in market, so having an opportunity to really use that as a period of development, I think, is going to be really important too in this offseason.
Jump to Hunter.
And then for you, Dan, can you just talk about what you saw from Nia this season? It felt like she took a big jump in like the upper echelon of like switchable defensive things.
Yeah, I think Nia's biggest area of growth was her confidence. I think Nia's always had the ability to do certain things. She just had to go out and do that. And I think a big credit to T, because I think Nia finally found a coach who believed in her and who she could really relate to, learn from, and really want to go to more. Nia proved herself, to your point, to be a multi-dimensional defensive player and also a real threat on the offensive end. Obviously, she stretches the floor from a three-ball perspective, but I think when we hit our stretch, you saw she was a threat on other areas of the court. Pull up, get into the rim, and just being a problem to deal with.
Do one more with Emmanuel, and then we'll wrap up. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
This is to both of y'all, and I apologize if you already answered this. We are a greedy city, so we've had growth both years. What are some of the things that you see going that to make us take that next step, that second round, and probably further in the next few years? What are y'all looking to do this offseason to maybe help us do that?
I think similar to when Megan asked about what you could do this offseason. I think internal growth is big for us, and I think we just got some experience that's going to help in that regard. And then I think we always got to add talent, and that's an area that, like T said, we're going to be focused on the draft and getting out and seeing these players starting in a couple weeks. And then obviously free agency starts in January, and you start to look at roster construction and all that. But we'll be very aggressive in all those areas and make sure we can put the best possible product out there so we can take that next step.
All right, cool. Thank you for everyone's time. We'll go to the players after this.
And look who's here. It's Wright.